Hey, this is our daily study of Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers. For those who have yard site for tonight, the 5th of Sivan, Philip Barron, Eileen Chernoff, Rachel Epstein, Reitza Grossman, Rosalie Kars, Sophia Cass, Morris Klutznick, Anna Kort, Nellie Krashen, Sarah Kuznetsky, Shlomo Lapin, Benjamin Lelchuk, and Ben Lerner. May their memory be for a blessing. A link to the text of the Mishnah will be in the first comment below. We are up to chapter 3, Mishnah 3. Rabbi Shimon Omer, and Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Shlosha she'achlu al shulchan echad v'lo amru alav divrei Torah ki'ilu achlu mizivchei mesim. If three people have eaten at one table and have not discussed words of Torah during that meal, it is as though they have eaten of the sacrifices of the dead. That means it's as though they worshipped idols, and idols are referred pejoratively as dead because, stone and wood idols, the rabbis are pointing out, they're just dead. They're not living things like the living God. So that's a pretty harsh statement. And as it is written, there's a proof text, Shenemar from Isaiah, Ki kol shulchanos malu ki tzoa bli makom. Isaiah describes pagan feasts the following way: for all the tables are full of vomit and filthiness without any space. Isaiah is trying to say, why would you want to go to these disgusting pagan feasts? Those tables are just full of vomit and filth, and there's no space, it's overcrowded. Um, but the homiletic interpretation, bli makom, without any space, but makom is also a way of referring to God. God is the makom, the place, because it has the connotation of the omnipresent. He is every place. Have you ever heard God referred to that way? So you see, hold on, just drop something. Drop the yard site list. You see that the rabbis have this brilliant capacity with playing with words to make these homilies. Now, my father has a joke that this it was once found. I don't know if this is true or if it's apocryphal, but this verse was once found in an Israeli restaurant a review of a restaurant, where the reviewer simply put one line: "See Isaiah 28:8," and then you look it up and it says, "For all the tables are full of vomit and filthiness without any space." Kind of a brilliant joke, probably just a rabbi joke and just apocryphal. Anyway, okay, now another joke that rabbis have is if you want to get around the obligation of saying words of Torah at your meal, just quote this very Mishnah itself. Before you're done the meal, say, Rabbi Shimon says, if three have eaten at a table and not said words of Torah, as if they had eaten a meal of idols. Okay, goodbye. Right? You use this Mishnah itself to fulfill your requirement to speak words of Torah. I've actually been at a meal with a couple other rabbis, and by the end of the meal, it's a little embarrassing, right? Three rabbis wouldn't be discussing Torah, but we're human also. And at the end of the meal, someone realizes we didn't, and you just quote this Mishnah. Another way to sort of get around this is Birkat Hamazon, if you ate bread. So benching happens to have verses from the Torah in it. So when you say the Birkat Hamazon, you're saying Torah. Okay, but I tell people that this is a pretty high bar for most Jews. Who, I mean, even like I said, me as a rabbi, I've had plenty of meals with two other people where I think I didn't say words of Torah. I've been preaching that some of the Mishnahs in Pirkei Avot are setting a sort of ideological bar that is not necessarily meant to be literal, but something you should strive for. That's one way to understand it. And another way is that what is your definition of Torah? You don't necessarily have to cite chapter and verse, but are you discussing something elevated related to God? Because look at the proof text. It says bli makom, without the omnipresent. So to me, that means you don't necessarily, if you're not scholarly, you don't have to quote something from the Talmud or from the Torah and so on. But are you just gossiping about celebrities the entire time, or are you discussing, even if you're discussing the coronavirus or politics or something about Israel, that's something elevated, something intellectual. You bring godliness into the meal. To me, I think I would charitably interpret that that is in the general rubric of the value of this Mishnah. You're discussing something elevated and meaningful and purposeful, and therefore God is at the table. Okay, but then it says, "Aval shlosha she'achlu al shulchan echad va'amru alav divrei Torah." There's always the inverse. It doesn't want to leave you with something bad, but something good too. But three who ate at one table, and they did discuss words of Torah, ki'ilu achlu mishulchano shel hamakam baruchu. It is as if they ate from the table of God Himself. Shenemar vayadaber elai zeh hashulchan asher lifnei Hashem. The prophet Ezekiel said, "This is the table that is before the Lord." And he was talking about God is showing him a vision of the third temple. And there's one of the vessels in the temple is called the shulchan, the table, which has perpetual bread, 12 loaves of fresh bread before God at all times. And he told the prophet, this is the table that is before God. But the rabbis say that absent a temple, the table which is also called a shulchan, your dining room table, your kitchen table, serves as your altar to God or your table to God. And therefore, the proof text is sort of saying, live up to that. This is the table before God. If you have God at the table, by quoting his revelation, by quoting something elevated, it is now considered a table of God as opposed to a table of dead idols. Okay, and with that, we can say the prayer following the study of Mishnah. Ana Adonai malei rachamim asher b'yadcha nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol b'sar ish. Yena l'ratzon lefanecha torseinu tfiloseinu ba'avor nishmos kol ha'askaros shel halaylo. G'molna imahem b'chastak ha'gadol liftoach lehem shari rachamim b'chesed v'shari gan eden. Uskabelos am ba'avo v'chibo shlach lehem malachecha kedoshim b'tahorim lo licham lo shivim tachas etzachayim. Etzel nishmos hatzadikim atzidkanios chasidim v'chasidos lehenos miziv shchinascha. La'aspia mituvcha atzafim atzadikim. V'aguf yanuach b'kever b'menucha nechona b'chedva v'simcha v'shalom. Kedavsiv yavo shalom yanuchal mishkavosam holech nechocho. Uksiv yalzu chasidim b'chavod yiranon mishkavosam. Uksiv im tishkav lo sivcha v'shachafta b'arba shnosecha. And in English, please, O Hashem, full of mercy, for in your hand is the soul of all the living, and the spirit of every human being. May you find favor in our Torah study and prayer. For the souls of Philip Barron, Eileen Chernoff, Rachel Epstein, Reitza Grossman, Rosalie Kars, Sophia Cass, Morris Klutznick, Anna Kort, Nellie Krashen, Sarah Kuznetsky, Shlomo Lappin, Benjamin Lelchuk, and Ben Lerner, in whose memory we study and pray. Accept them with love and affection, and send them your holy and pure angels to lead to settle under the tree of life near the souls of the righteous and devout, to enjoy the radiance of your presence, to satiate them from your good that is concealed for the righteous. May the body repose in the grave with proper contentment, pleasure, gladness, and peace, as it is written, let them enter in peace, let them rest on their beds, everyone who has lived in his proper way. As it is written, let the devout exult in glory, let them sing joyously upon their beds. As it is written, if you lay down, you will not fear. When you lay down, your sleep will be sweet. Amen.